Hello everyone, it's Infinity Gamer and today I'm going to be talking about Torchlight. So this is going to be an incredibly dangerous video because I'm going to do something that is not a strong suit of mine, and that is multitasking. What I'm going to try and do is talk about Torchlight. I've got some stuff open, I've been looking at the list, the new profiles quite a lot, while assembling Torchlight as well. This is either going to be excellent or it's going to be terrible, but as I mentioned in my last video, limited hobby time, and so I've got to cram in as much as possible when I do get the time to do it. Hence also why Little Ender is working away on some greebles. For those of you interested in what's going on with that, so I've got my Brutal Cities terrain, which has done me a great service over the years. And then what I'm looking to do is add, I'm pretty sure they're called greebles, like just stuff that adds to the terrain. Because, you know, while this is great, it is fundamentally a box. A very pretty box, don't get me wrong. But I think adding things like comms boxes, vents and fans and stuff are on this one at the moment, are going to help me add this. And then my plan is to actually potentially repaint all of these into a themed table, which, depending on how well it goes, might be the subject of another video or not. But these little 3D printed elements are just to try and break up the shapes a little bit, make it a bit more engaging. So that's what's going on there. On the screen I've got the profiles that I want to talk about, and then I've got my assembly stuff ready to go, and I've just got the box to crack open, which hasn't happened yet. And so what I'm going to try and do while this bit is happening is talk about something that is easy for me to talk about, and that is O12. For those of you that have been following the channel since day one, which might not be many of you, but I still appreciate those of you that have joined later into the party as well. O12 was my first ever faction. It's very dear to me in a way. The top shelf of that is entirely O12, and I have every single O12 model, I'm pretty sure. And so like emotionally, I'm actually pretty invested in O12, but it hasn't been an easy journey. But first I'm going to take you back to a young Infinity Gamer that was fresh out of playing 40k. This story, I have shared this story a couple of times, so apologies to those of you that aren't hearing it for the first time. But I think it was 9th edition 40k. I was very jaded by the gaming system, by the cost of the models, by everything that was pretty much happening with Games Workshop. And interestingly, the backpacks of, I think it's the Hell Blasters, Hell somethings, look like they're Siocast. That's the first time, so I've seen that bases can be Siocast and like scenery elements. This is the first time I've actually seen part of the model be Siocast. That's actually pretty cool. 9th edition, very jaded, had left the gaming system entirely, was hunting around for a new gaming system to fall in love with. And luckily for me, one of my final games at my local, it wasn't even my FLGS, because unfortunately my FLGS is very 40k focused and because that's what they sell, and doesn't really seem to support the playing of a whole bunch of other games, which is a huge shame, because that's obviously a great place to learn about other games. But obviously if the FLGS doesn't stock those games, I can also see that's wobbling a lot because of the 3D printer, so I apologise for every time I'm going to go to the overhead, which is a huge shame. And so I actually am very lucky that there's like a miniature wargaming society in the region that I live in, and that is run by just, you know, aficionados really. And very, very luckily, having played a game of 40k there, which was actually one of my last games, giving it a last-ditch effort and basically going to a group of people to kind of go, hey, look, if I mix up who I'm playing against and all that sort of stuff, is it going to get more fun? Wandered past a table of people playing Infinity. It seems weird to me now because the guy who I stopped and talked to didn't know, obviously, but still just went and asked because I was so compelled by what he was playing. And now I play with him like every week. So it's just weird sometimes how, you know, friendships and relationships come out of some odd places. He'd set up his nomads, he'd set up his table. I loved the size of the size of the table. It was actually like quite small gaming area. The model count looked fairly low. He told me a whole bunch of stuff about his nomads that I didn't really understand at the time, but I was kind of like, yeah, that's a lot of what I don't like about 40k, is that the model count is very high. The cost investment is then therefore high as well, and then also from a meta perspective, you've basically got to keep up to date with how the rules are changing if you want to be remotely competitive. And he was there telling me that the rules don't get updated very often, and in fact he showed me the printout of the rules and he said, I've printed out the rules and they were free. That was a strange new concept for me, the idea of free rules. So I'm gonna have to angle that one. Yeah, the idea of rules being free was just mental. And so I then reached out to, I can't even remember how I reached out. I think I was, no idea how I actually managed to find the group, but ended up doing some demo games, hanging out with them, and then that was it. Playing with, very, very lucky that I've got Battle Kiwi in my local area as well, so does excellent terrain, excellent Infinity accessories. Played some games against him, played some games against Bryn, other people as well. And unfortunately, when I decided to get into Infinity, it was the tail end of N3 pretty much. And I had decided that I wanted to go all in. So I bought a 2-player starter set, mostly because I didn't have a second player to play with new, but I wanted 2 armies and I wanted to hedge my bets as to which one I was going against. So I bought the Wildfire starter set, which was O12 and Combined Army. At that time, O12 was brand new. They were the latest shiny. It was exciting because, as far as I knew at that point, Corvus Belli weren't exactly releasing a faction a month. And as anyone who's been playing the game for longer than 5 minutes will also know that, in fact, I actually think that if you've been playing the game for the last year or two, you've probably got a distorted opinion of how often Corvus Belli release minis and do new stuff, because they've actually been on an absolute bender of getting new minis out there, which is beautiful. Obviously, really appreciate that. So I jumped into O12, played them in N3. I did have a bit of a period where in N3 I didn't think it was the faction, or I didn't think anything was really wrong. I just thought, obviously, I don't know really how to play, and so I kind of put it down to that. Then, as things progressed, N3 disappeared off, got replaced by Code 1 first, really. And the reason I remember that is because I had a tournament to go to in Wellington, which is the capital of New Zealand, for those that don't know much about New Zealand, because why would you? It's a tiny country. And went down there, and I think about a week beforehand or something like that, Code 1 dropped. And so there was a lot of speculation around how much of that is going to go into N4, which we kind of knew was coming but hadn't been released yet. And so I remember the poor event organizer kind of going, what do we do? How, which bits come in? I think at that point we thought limited insertion was still going to be a thing, and so I remember a lot of people taking limited insertion lists. I remember facing one, and then a week later, N4 actually dropped, and we went, "Oh, crikey, that's a big change that no one really saw coming." And so I continued to play O12 for N4 to basically just go, hey, look, how is this going? I'd struggled with Combined Army, which was the other half of Wildfire, because it was just a bit too finessey for me. You had to be sneaky, and I really wasn't down for that. And I think O12 did quite well when we were playing Code 1 missions, which we did for a while, to try and get used to some of the rules as to how N4 was likely to play. And I don't know why I started with the Silver Star Prime, because there's a lot of stuff to do here. And so I kept playing with O12 and just didn't love it. Did not love it. I started the channel, explained my video, not necessarily in that order. Started experimenting with O12, trying different things, especially throughout M4, and just, I don't know, found that maybe it could have been the play style. Other people who play O12 will probably be able to talk to this as well, but for me it just didn't have a definitive playstyle. I loved certain aspects of vanilla, and so was like really actually comfortable playing vanilla, but I also wanted to get into a sectorial. So when Star Marder launched, which also came a little bit later, and I remember getting the Star Marder box and that being very exciting because they were cool models, is that I was expecting Star Marder to be, epic, because lots of other sectorials were. In fact, most of the people I was playing against were playing sectorials, and I was like, oh, that's clearly, like, maybe that's the way to play. You have fire teams, and you've got order conservation and things like that. And then I played Star Marder, and it just didn't happen for me. Like, I didn't find, I don't know. I felt like what I wanted to do was take Hector to be a bit of a gunman and to get the extra orders, but then there wasn't the safety net behind Hector of like easy chain of command without taking Cho, and she ended up being quite obvious, even though she could hollow mask. It was generally, I found, quite obvious that she was hollow masking and who she was, and she ended up getting hunted down quite a lot, which was frustrating. And Hector would often die, because that's what, when you rely on one model or like one unit to deliver you your entire success, that's often what happens. Or he just, like, it was too reliant on him being in a link. I don't know, there was just lots of things, as you can tell. And so I dropped O12, and I was gutted, to be honest, because I have all the O12. I do love playing O12, but it just didn't gel for me. So then I went to military orders. That was better, because at least it was fairly simple, and it kind of just does what it says on the tin. It's very tanky, you just shoot things, it's very pano. And that I felt was better because it was also easier to create synergies that were obvious. Teutonic Knights were brilliant. Trinitarians were fantastic for grabbing objectives. Then there was obviously the Black Friar back then, before the new, well, the nerf, I don't want to say nerf because I actually think it's a great improvement. But before the new fighting rules came out, the Black Friar was horrible creature. MSV2, heavy rocket launcher in a 5-man link. It took a lot of work to get rid of it, and it was actually only easy to get rid of if you/me actually just set things up incorrectly, and made it so that it was easy to be removed, which I was able to do very well, is set it up incorrectly and make it very easy to remove. So I did enjoy playing military orders. It was a big change, but it was a great change for me. And then Morats got their release, and so I played around with them to basically see what they were about. Loved Morats, like absolutely loved Morats, and that was primarily because they were run and shoot things in the face, which was so simple. So like, if I hadn't had much time to plan a finessey list, or if I really wasn't up for thinking, especially if the mission was just like, oh, I just need to clear a path and get it done, then Morats were excellent. But I did get bored of Morats eventually, because I was taking the same list to everything. It was doing well, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't any need to think. So there's this balancing act I've noticed between not needing to think so much that my brain hurts, but needing to think a little bit more than, let's just charge at the enemy and shoot everything that sticks its head up. Or not even that, create horrible AROs because you've got something like the Yaugat sniper, which can basically take on anything. So yeah, I pretty much got bored of that. So went on to Nomads, which is the faction that I've actually been playing recently. I tried a little bit of Bakunin when that pack got released. Oh shoot, this is why we have, it's nearby. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. Where was I? You were going to go in there, and so it's half my finger now. So if anyone looks at my models and goes, oh, Psycast is rubbish, Psycast is fine, I'm rubbish. Yeah, so Nomads has been fun. I tried Bakunin. I wanted to take nuns because that's the core aspect of Bakunin, I felt. And I always feel a bit weird when you're taking a faction, but you're not taking its main thing. So I felt really awkward because nuns weren't easy for me to add to my lists for one reason or another. And then I was basically taking the stuff that wasn't really, can I say Bakuna-y? And that not sound weird? Which, yeah, just felt very odd to me. And so then I've transferred, so the last few games, I've actually, come on, gentle, there we go. The last few games I've been playing, I've actually just been playing vanilla Nomads. And it's been great fun. Great fun. I love the Muramasai. Anyway, this isn't a video about Nomads. Although it should be, because Nomads are awesome. And then Torchlight came out. And I had so much hope. Like, I cannot even express to you how much nervous excitement I had for Torchlight. And the reason for the nervous excitement was because I feel O12 needs, absolutely needs, to have a competitive sectorial. Starmada isn't that. And I don't know that anyone could say otherwise about Starmada. Or maybe in like incredibly skilled hands, it could be very, very competitive. And I know like playing Infinity isn't about being competitive, it's about like having fun. And I do have fun every single game I play, regardless of the outcome. But what I do want is for my sectorial to not be easily stomped because I'm an average player and because the sectorial is average, or because the faction is average. And I felt that with O12, a lot of people who started playing it have stopped playing it just because they've realised that if you do go to a tournament, or if you do go up against missions where you're up against Morats, you're up against like some really, really good stuff. MRRF gets thrown around a lot as being quite a competitive faction. Then what you don't want is for your favourite faction to just get curb stomped effectively, because that's not fun, especially when you love the lore, you love the idea of them, and you've been emotionally invested in them since day one, like me. So when Torchlight was announced, I was like, please, please make this everything I dreamed of and potentially more. Like, I mean, Starmada, I hoped had potential. I think it did. Maybe it is my playstyle. I'm not ruling out the fact that Starmada is good and that it's just me, but I'm also gutted that I can't play it. And I want to. So then what I'm hoping with Torchlight, and actually I kind of thought that they go for like more of a Bureau Noir, like new sectorial, which would be more stealth, more sneaky. I've read a lot of the lore around O12, and I didn't think anything like Torchlight existed. I know that they're under Sword 4, which we knew was kind of the military division of O12, a bit more of the aggressive side of things. And so I don't think like where it's placed within O12 is much of a shock. But I think that, where is that? This is why we dry fit people, because you get random spurs or random things in the middle of nowhere that are actually where you need to glue stuff. There we go. So I was hopeful for Torchlight, but I also had scaled my hope because I don't want to be disappointed. Then we started to see some releases, and hot diggity, some of those unit profiles. And now O12 has had a lot of good love recently. The Roadbot is a great unit, and I think that definitely swung the tide for O12 a little bit. And then we also got Raven Eye as part of the Raven Eye pack, which was a little bit longer ago, and that is a great unit, and that has actually been in most of my O12 lists when I have picked them up and played. But then I saw some of the Torchlight stuff. Now, looking at the artwork, those of you that follow me on the page would know that I loved the look of a lot of things. But as we know with Infinity, the look of something doesn't necessarily translate back to it being any good at all. I'm not going to throw any examples out there. But this stuff looked cool. Saw the teaser trailer. It's getting released in all the right ways. Then they drop the profiles. And the profiles are cool, but I want to see all of it, and I want to see the fire teams list, because there's a couple of things as well that you know. So when they drop the profiles, they don't drop the fire team or the sectorial layout at the same time. Then they drop the sectorial layout, and it uses models that are the same as what's in O12 or Slum Armada at the moment. But you know that in some sectorials, those profiles get a tweak. So I'm thinking the Tikbalang in Military Orders versus the Tikbalang in Contestamento, like same unit, different profiles. And so I was going to be doing a video that was kind of like looking at that release video, looking at some of the models and do some theoretical lists. But I was like, no, because like, what if Hippolyta gets a massive change when she's included in there? What if the CoC gets a massive change? And sure enough, I was right to delay, because some of the models I love now are existing units in O12, but they've gotten love. And I'm going to use the word love when I mean all of the attention in the world. And I'm just going to figure out where the deuce, like that pipe is clearly part of it. And the thing is, oh yep, so it goes, don't knock that. Okay, so sorry for those of you that are hearing my brain well. It just seems as though there's supposed to be like a shoulder connection about there that doesn't exist. Well, that means that that isn't necessary. Okay, so let's get rid of you as well. Raven Eye. I'm going to go through some of the models now, some of the unit profiles, and some list combinations, and some thinkings around Torchlight. And a couple of the things that I love, I'm not going to be able to go into full detail for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I haven't played it yet, and I refuse to get sucked into doing lists ideas when I haven't seen how they work on the table, whether the synergies worked out. And you generally need a couple of games, I've found, to really know if something has potential, because you might, typically, and anyone who's been playing Infinity for a while will know this, you have a brand new model, you paint it, you put it on the table, and it dies instantly. And some of that is bad luck, and some of it is that you just didn't know how to use it to its full capabilities. And I've really hashed that. This is maybe one of the times where, like, this is maybe, that was not a great mold across there, so maybe not the best sidecast model I've ever received, and then I've made it look worse, but such is life. And so the thing is about playing Torchlight is that I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a couple of goes, and then I'm going to go, I really fluffed that. I didn't use that unit to the best of its capabilities, which is kind of the stage I was at with Nomads, having played vanilla twice, I think, off the top of my head. And then going, I probably needed to go first, so the Moran Masai could do a bit more area denial, and those sorts of things that you only really get to experience and think about when you've had a go or two with the unit. And so there's a couple of units here with Torchlight that I'm super excited about. They look great on paper, and in fact some commentators will already be saying that's broken or that's that, and they might be right, but we just don't know yet within the meta and the system of the game. So I am definitely hesitant to kind of say anything's broken or anything is too good, because you just don't know. And obviously Course Buddy is really good at doing points adjustments if they think that's the case, but not to the extent that something that was good is now like completely unusable, like Games Workshop. So I'm going to go through a couple of the units that I think are well worth thinking about, talking about. They're quite exciting. The first one, and I'm going to go do this in a bit of an order so that you can jump across if you like. So I'm going to do Lieutenants, I'm then going to do like Lieutenant Support, then I'm going to do Order Efficiency, and then I'm going to talk about some of the fire teams options that are available and some standout units. I'm not even going to be able to go through all of the new units because I'm going to be looking at this from more of a tactical, strategic standpoint, and not like, here's a list, use it, because that doesn't really work with Infinity either. So the first thing that I'm going to look at is one I've mentioned already, the Raven Eye Officer. This was a good unit, back in Armada, back in vanilla O12. Now it's a great unit, and it's maybe one of the best units I have seen in O12, and I say that without even a hint of sarcasm or an exaggeration, for a couple of reasons. We've retained a lot of what made the Raven Eye good, and then it's made even better, and it's made it fix some of O12's really big issues. Some of that is lack of non-obvious lieutenants, lack of non-expensive lieutenants other than Kappas. This, we're looking at the most expensive Raven Eye officer is 19 points, at its cheapest it's 12. And I love both of the expensive profiles. The chain of command option I think is going to make it into quite a few of my lists, especially if I'm running a Silver Star Prime as a lieutenant, so that I can use the lieutenant order on it to be very aggressive and hunty. The issue that I always have with having aggressive lieutenants, and I found this with Hector as well, is when they die, you go into loss of lieutenant, and that sucks. Unless you've got chain of command, which is very expensive insurance in an infinity list. And I don't like expensive insurance, apart from for like my house and things like that, where it is very important to have expensive insurance. Raven Eye fixes that problem. We have a cheap chain of command that also retains all the cool things that made Raven Eyes useful in my lists anyway. That Emarat is useful against heavy infantry. I can't tell you how many times a Raven Eye popping out of nowhere has stopped a charging heavy infantry unit. The EM mines are also excellent. It comes with mine layer, so just drop that EM mine straight away near an objective, and you're stopping heavy infantry. You're stopping a lot of things getting close to it. Tags they hate EM. So this is great. We've also got the forward observer aspect of this Raven Eye officer, which is fantastic for spotlighting. Whether you're going to have a guided missile bot or whether you're just going to be +3ing, -3 to resets, still useful, and forward observers are specialists, so this is excellent. It's got deactivator in case you're up against something that likes to place mines and pesky things. So the chain of command, and I can't believe I spent this long just talking about the chain of command profile, but that's how much I love the Raven Eye. And then we have the lieutenant profile. Because of the inclusion of Hollow Mask on this one and the chain of command, and what I also love about this is that there's a good Hollow Mask option for this. And you can then use your mines to be clever. So I'm loving some of the things that are now starting to percolate around Torchlight. For example, one of the things around like chain of command, you need to then have a chain of command potentially in your list if you want to keep the Raven Eye existence quiet. That's a Mentage. So I believe off the top of my head, I've been looking at a lot of profiles, so I may be slightly confused, but I believe the Mentage agent has chain of command. So there's something that you can Hollow Mask as that has chain of command that kind of doesn't raise suspicion, which then means that that camo token, because the Ment doesn't have mine layer off the top of my head, that you could be pretending that's a Beast Hunter or any of the other camo options out there. And then in some missions you might actually take a Raven Eye and pretend it's laid of mine, and actually it's a Beast Hunter hiding there with a Flatmanship ready to take out a tag. These are the sorts of things that O12 never had, was the shell game stuff. And then we've got the Lieutenant +1 order, which is amazing. Because it's cheap, it's 16 points, it's still got all the great stuff, Hollow Mask and all that. And again, there's a profile that brings a +1 order that you could Hollow Mask against, and that still work quite nicely. And then meaning your mine is actually like either hidden or it's not a mine and it's something else, and there's the shell games at play. Depending on how well your opponent like knows Torchlight, they'll go, oh, that's near something that could be producing 1 order. It's either going to be a Raven Eye or it's going to be, I think it's Sonya off the top of my head. And then that camo token, is that an EM mine? Or is it a Beast Hunter? I don't really want to go near either of them. I'd rather step out in front of a mine that I'm out of range of, but if it turns out to be a Beast Hunter with a Flamen Spear, or whatever it is, I'm not going to be happy. So, some options here that I think will give people headaches when they start facing Torchlight. And then, yeah, so the Lieutenant +1 order is excellent, and it's excellent because we've got some good NCO options for a change. We didn't really have a ton of that in Starmada. Did have a little bit of it in Vanilla, but you weren't really bringing anything because Hector was so expensive. You were basically didn't have much room for anything else that had NCO. That, you know, because Hector was taking up so much of the points allowance. So now we've got the Lieutenant. We've got Lieutenant +1 order. We've got NCO options available, and the Raven Eye is amazing. I think I'm going to be including it in like all of my lists. I'm so grateful I've got a model, because I think it's probably going to be Hollow Mask or something and not be seen for much of it. But this is so cool. I actually think this is one of my favourite profiles out of all of Torchlight, so I'm starting strong. The next Lieutenant option I want to talk about is the Silver Star Rovers. So there's one option in there and that's the multi-rifle light riot stopper. It's 30 points, so it is a bit expensive. I don't know that this is going to be the lieutenant option I'm taking. It's nice that there's the option there. They all have specialist operative, and so you do have the option of being able to use your lieutenant order on a specialist operative to go push buttons and things like that. So you do get the order efficiency there. But again, we've got so many NCO options that I don't know that you'll be using it on something like a Silver Star Rover. The Silver Star Rover profiles in general are quite cool, and they are quite nice. Should be a shoulder pad. There you are. There's Silver Star Rovers, but I think obviously when you look at them in the context of the Silver Star Fire team, that's actually where they shine. They are expensive, so you probably won't be taking, well, I say expensive, they're 28 to 33 points, 39 points if you take heavy machine gun. But I think I'm going to talk about those in a bit later because I'm going to talk about them in the context of the fire team. So I don't think I'll be taking the Lieutenant version of this very often, which then brings us to the next Lieutenant option, which is the Silver Star Prime. This is a viable Lieutenant option, but because what you're looking at here is you've got the Tactical Awareness Order, you've got the Regular Order, you've got the Lieutenant Order. So just in this one profile alone, you've got a heavy machine gun with +1 damage, heavy riot stopper. It's only one SWC. It's got BS attack -3. If you've been anywhere near the internet and IGC, Infinity Crypt posting, or anywhere, and probably especially the forums, BS attack -3 is good. I mean, with this unit, you're not going to be dodging. You could be dodging. I've just noticed that it doesn't have the typical tag, because it's not a tag, it's heavy infantry. What am I thinking? So it's dodging on a 13, but the fact is, you're only going to, I think, be doing that really. Do you know what? There's so many instances actually now where you could dodge because it's BS13, or you could template with a heavy riot stopper. That still is a BS attack, so that would give your opponent -3. You could still, I mean, you're not going to be shooting with an HMG close range, but if you're being hit with a template, if the high likelihood is that your Silver Star Prime is going to be hit with a template, then what you're likely thinking is, well, I'm not going to just tank that, even though I'm 2 wounds and I've got decent armor. I'm going to dodge that. So that's dodging on a 13, which is good, don't get me wrong. And your BS attack -3 is going to do nothing against the template, and so there's no point you doing a heavy riot stopper, because there's not going to be any bonus to that unless they've got a shotgun and they actually then choose to dice you, but it's unlikely. And so that's when you might heavy riot stopper, and then you might be dodging on 13s, which is good. You've got MSV1, so smoke's not a problem. But you still, if you're going to be using your lieutenant aggressively, you are going to want chain of command, and this is where we go back to that Raven Eye profile, because that is a great chain of command that will likely be hidden out of danger, so it's going to be hard to hunt down. You can use your Silver Star Prime really aggressively and have fun with it, which is great, because I hate it when you've got like a really good heavy infantry that you want to go attacking with, but it's also vulnerable. This is not the case with this one. So I do think having the Prime Lieutenant is a good option if it's going to be your major attack piece and you want that Lieutenant order to be spending it on itself. This could be especially useful if you really like shooting stuff with a heavy machine gun that has +1 damage. Silver Star Prime, cool in so many ways. Really good order efficiency. The BS attack -3 is great. The 6-2 move is going to be fantastic. BS 14 is a really nice starting point. And the fact that it's got MSV1 is going to be great for attacking camo to anything with mimetism. So excellent profile, really good option for your lieutenant, I feel. Then we go to Jamie Arantes, which sums up this profile quite nicely. It's got everything. It's so cool. I don't think I've seen the model for this yet, but decoy +1 is great on something like this. It also has the Lieutenant +1 order, so when I was thinking Raven Eye Sonya, I think I was actually thinking Jamie, whatever it is. It's also got an NCO option, so this is one where, and when we look at the fire team options, you could be taking it in that. Either is a great option. Lieutenant with +1 order, you don't have to be super afraid because you've potentially got your Raven Eye chain of command backing you up. You then have 2 orders to be spending on this. It's got guard. What? I don't know why, but that's great that it does. Martial Arts level 1, mimetism, decoy, terrain total, dodge +2 inches when it's already PH 14. It's 50 points though, And so I think it's definitely priced fairly for what you're getting, and it's probably going to be one of those ones where, kind of maybe like Hector, you're pretty much using, that's most of your strategy, is getting Jamie up the boards. Plasma rifle is very Hector-esque, and I'm here for it, because that was another reason why I love taking Hector. I always took the plasma rifle version. There's not, and the Acrolite cannon is actually surprisingly good, and Nanopulsar is useful too. But is it 50 points good? When we've got, what is it, the Silver Star Prime is 53 points, the Wrecker is not far off that. Potentially. S4, 2 wounds. I think you could play around with this. It's a great lieutenant option, so do it. And it could, I don't know, could it be a good fake? You've got a Raven Eye hollow masking. Can't do that because the S profiles are different. Never mind. Never mind. S4? Is that going to be like a remote style thing? I'm really curious about this one. Maybe I should have paid more attention to that. There were a couple of oddities that I didn't notice beforehand. And then finally on the lieutenant front we get to Sonia Lacroix, Glowpole Marshal. Lot to love again about this profile, very reasonably priced, so I think you're going to see this a lot in lists. Got a specialist operative profile, it's got the Emarat, it's got the multi-rifle, X-Visor's great for negating that distance bands. I get sometimes marksmanship and X-Visor confused, but that means that the multi-rifle is going to be good at any range. Albedo is going to be funny. It has a short lifespan, and so like won't be game-changing or anything like that, but would still be fun. Then there's the Lieutenant Specialist Operative version, so that's useful again if you want to be using that Lieutenant order to be completing missions, which, you know, you could do because this is also in a fire team, which is quite good. Stand up. So I think Sonia, the Lieutenant Specialist Operative version, is good, cheaper to be taking. That Lieutenant version comes with +1 SWC, just in case you're struggling with taking things like Silver Star Primes. And that's another thing I really love about what's happening with Torchlight, is that typically, when I play O12, I run out of SWC more often than I run out of points because I'm taking great weapons. That +1 SWC might be very helpful if you're taking Silver Star Primes, Wreckers, a whole bunch of things. So that's your Lieutenant options. Then I'm going to go into some of the order efficiencies that come from that, and that's the NCO profiles, because there's actually a few in Torchlight that are well worth looking at. The first one is the Jack Boot. Immunity total is useful. The fact that it's 30, 23 points is interesting. It's only 1 wound. It's got an NCO Spitfire. It's then when we look at the fire teams, this potentially makes an appearance. It's got 1 SWC, 31 points. Armor 3, BTS 3. It's good. I'm unsure if this is going to be in a lot of my lists, which is weird because I think in reinforcements for O12 I did take Jack Boots. First Torchlight model finished. Of course, start with Chonkus. So let's pop you there. Let's go to the next NCO profile because I think we've got more to talk about with the Vidocs. Not again sure around my pronunciation here, which is classic for this channel, as everyone knows. But we do have some interesting things here. So not only are there a couple of just interesting profiles within this Vidoc anyway, one of the ones I love, I'm gonna have to mention later, but all of them have NCO. So anything you choose here has great order efficiency. I'm going to talk about it now anyway. Mimetism -3 is lovely. The FTOs are obviously for fire teams. You've got good options there. I like the MSV1 multi-sniper FTO version, especially with the mimetism, especially with the NCO. Means you can kind of go hunting for things. You could use smoke if you've got... I haven't looked at what's available, what has smoke in Torchlight. I probably should before I start talking about how great all this MSV1 is. But the one I think I actually love here, and from an NCO perspective, is potentially the surprise attack camouflage MSV1 multi-sniper. I wonder, with the Raven Eye with its E-mine, you could potentially do a bit of a shell game there. But that's shell games within shell games, because you're basically having a hollow-masked Raven Eye, potentially laying an EM mine, or is it a multi-sniper rifle camouflage Vidoc with mimetism -3? The option's actually yours, and I think you could play it, and you could work this very well. Beast Hunter, Vidocq, what's that mine? What's that mine? Then, and 1.5, so I think this is why, particularly as well, like things like your SWC is going to creep up quite nicely, which is why I think having something like Sonya, it was Sonya, I'm pretty sure, as your lieutenant, not only from an order perspective makes sense, but also from that +1 SWC, is probably going to be a really good option for everybody. This Vidocq, I love the unit as well, the model. So Course also smashing it out of the park by giving units that we want to field because they look good, also have excellent profiles. Let's keep going. NCO Vidocq, almost a given. Striders, loved that all of them have NCO. So this is another thing I'm loving about Torchlight, is it's not just like one profile has NCO, there's like all of these units have NCO, so you get to choose which one you want to take. I love the mine layer option, that both of those are mine layer, specialist operative. They've got repeaters. One of them's got shock mines, the other one's got deployable repeater. Both are great options. And with the wave riders, you might choose to go hacking with Torchlight. Another thing I love about Torchlight, you've got options as to whether you want to go super shooty, whether you want to go hidden, whether you want to be going hacking. I think we've got excellent choices either way there for the repeater network to be a thing. Obviously these have forward deployment. They've got the surprise attack, they've got NWI, 1 wound, BTS 6, moves -3, NCO, camouflage, surprise attack, terrain total. A lot of terrain total going on here, which again, I'm all for. These are more expensive, as you'd expect with that sort of profile. At 30 points, I think they're potentially worthwhile. They sound very Moran Masai, but maybe not quite as good. But not quite as good in terms of the fact that I think Crazy Koalas are a really good deployable option for zone control, whereas deployable repeater can work against you, can work for you. But Striders I think are going to get used quite significantly. And yeah, you've got your choice, to be honest here. Like even a Strider with a Red Fury, yeah, it's expensive, but I think you're basically looking at the 30-point options there, because I think the mine layer with that forward deployment makes a lot of sense for area denial and trying to protect yourself. The second to last NCO I've got to talk about is Jamie. That's the non-lieutenant option. 49 points is expensive, but could be good. Again, plasma rifle with NCO, that means if you're taking the Raven Eye for 2 lieutenant orders, that's 3 orders you've effectively got to use on this one, with the 2 lieutenant orders plus the regular order. And then we've still got the decoy, you've got the forward deployment, you've got guards. So this is good for area denial, but it's expensive. If you need to be using your decoy well. But I think could be fun. And then Sonya, obviously great option. There's an NCO version that's almost identical to the lieutenant, apart from the fact that it doesn't have the +1 SWC. So those are NCOs. Then looking at additional order efficiency, we're looking at here. I had something, this is meant. So I was then looking at chain of commands, because if you're going to be using your lieutenants aggressively, whether that is Jammy, whether that's Silver Star Prime, you want some chain of command. You've got 2 options. So you've got the Raven Eye officer and you've got the Ment agent. All of the Ment profiles have chain of command, so you can choose whichever. You might want to go with the hacking device one as spotlight if you're going heavy hacking, and then you've got that chain of command as a fallback. But obviously hackers could get attacked through repeater networks and things. So I'm actually thinking the 15-point heavy riot stopper +2 burst. Heavy riot stoppers is, and with biometric visor, so you can't get smashed by surprise attack or hollow mask, something like that, and then stealth. The Ment is a cheap throwaway unit at 15 points pretty much. I mean, it doesn't have anything special in terms of movement to be able to get there, but I think that heavy riot stopper is going to be area denial in its own right. Then we go across to stepping away from chain of commands. We're looking at your tactical awareness now to try and increase your order efficiency. Again, great options here. We have already talked about Silver Star Rovers. I actually feel like the 2 tactical awareness profiles are potentially the best ones of the lot. They are expensive. One of them is 39 points with the HMG. But then you've got the combi rifle, firewall -3. Again, if you're going a little bit hacking, or if you're running your heavy infantry around, which obviously this one is, tin bots are always a good idea. So you might choose the 32.1 and then go for order efficiency with the tactical awareness, but then you're not using it on a gunner really, unless you get really within range and that combi rifle comes into range. And so I do think for the extra 7 points and the extra 1.5 SWC, that heavy machine gun would be a good use of the orders. And then you could always go for a slightly cheaper Timbot with the 29-point Silver Star. That's got the combi rifle and the firewall. So the main difference there is that Timbot doesn't come with an extra tactical awareness. I think all of these are good options actually. I think you'll probably take one, and then you'll probably find your Timbot elsewhere, or you might fairy dust or something like that. But I do think that the tactical awareness here is going to give that Silver Star fire team that extra order of efficiency that you're going to be looking for, because especially if you run it really strong to actually go in and do some gunning, and I think the HMG is going to be a great option for that. And then potentially I think the Vidoc goes into that to make it non-pure, but then that means you've got multi-sniper for some distance and some MSV. The next one is obviously the Silver Star Prime. That has tactical awareness with it anyway. And then obviously if you go for the Lieutenant, that's if you don't mind your Lieutenant being super aggressive, which I think is a great way to run this. But then you've also just got tactical awareness on the non-Lieutenant version, which costs the same. It costs half an SWC more. So it's kind of more expensive to take the non-Lieutenant, which I do think means that more people are going to take the Lieutenant as the Silver Star Prime, and then rocket chain of command, either the Ment or the Raven Eye Officer. Then we go into the third one, the Wrecker. This is a great unit. I haven't talked about this yet. It's a big tag. It's very classic. S6, ECM guided -6, BS attack +1 damage, BS attack AP. So go hunting tags and heavy infantry with this. Dodge PH11, Gizmo Kit PH11, tactical awareness, terrain total. The terrain total is a really nice touch. I love the last one, the cheapest one, the heavy rocket launcher with BS attack +1 burst, because also your BS attack has +1 damage and the BS attack has AP, and you've got a heavy rocket launcher. This is a great ARO tag. Obviously the fact that there's no smoke there is going to be a pain, but then if you get, and there's no sixth sense, so the way to take you out is to smoke and then shoot through. So what you want is something nearby that does have MSV, and that could be a couple of things, because we've got a few MSV ones sitting around there. There is the option to do the Wreckers fire team, which we're going to talk about in a second, and I think one at the 51 points, one with the Spitfire, it would be epic to have those two running around. I'm looking forward to the Wrecker model. I'll probably get two, just because I think I'm going to be running, and even the HMG version is obviously classic. It's just a bit more pricey, whereas I think a Spitfire is okay when you've got if you're doing a duo setup. If you're only running the one, then the HMG's really good there. Epic. I hope the models live up to this. So when we look at the fire team options, we've got three main fire teams in the new Torchlight Brigade. You've got the Silver Star fire team, the Mobility fire team, and the Wreckers fire team. Then we've got a whole bunch of wildcards. We've actually got some decent wildcards in here too. So obviously looking at Silver Star with the Silver Star keywords, that's Silver Star, Hellblazer, Wave Rider. Then in the wildcard section, we've got two. We've got Hippolyta and Sonya. So you can effectively run a pure core very easily. And I think the way you do that is maybe run it with Hippolyta as the lead. She's expensive, but I think she would do an exceptional job of using her Eclipse grenades, using her insane CC abilities, using her breaker combi, I think it's a breaker combi, to just tear up the field. Again, use those Eclipse grenades, additional burst on those. I think you could run a pure core incredibly aggressively here, and that would be fun to see. But then you've also got mixed cores that are really attractive too. So obviously the Prime, throwing that in there would be useful. It might be worth dropping the double BS for that to happen. Then we've got the Kappa, which is that's just classic. It'll be nice cheap filler in there. But to be honest, I think the Hellblazers is a good option for low points options there. And then the Wave Rider is just pretty cool. Then I also think one of the wild cards you'd probably look at if you're running that as a core, maybe with a Prime. Off the top of my head, the Clutcher seemed good. The Vidoc FTO is good, but I also do like that non-FTO profile there. And Sonya's obviously excellent. So let's look at one or two more of those options within there. So the Wave Rider, which we haven't touched upon yet, I like all three flavors of that. So the Killer Hacker upgrade Trinity +1 damage is excellent if you are running heavy hacking and you need a counter for that. And then obviously at 22 points, that's really good. And then it's got Mimetism, which is nice. The slightly more expensive options there, we've got the Oblivion +1 burst, and that's the SMG. So then the difference in points is then you go up to Oblivion +1 burst, but then there's a boarding shotgun. I actually prefer the SMG profile in that, so I think I'll be taking that 24.1 in my lists anyway. And then the Pitcher will be great if that is in that link team, so that you've got the you've got the +1 burst on your Pitchers. You potentially lay that, do some suppression if you're doing a heavy hacking list. So the Wave Rider is excellent. The Kappa unit, really classic here. The paramedic is the option that you probably go for. That's 14 points, or you could just take a classic for 12 if you're short on points and you just need a filler. But the paramedic is good. Other ones there, Kludgers, I haven't talked about them yet, but we've got engineer deactivators. That's going to be useful if you're running, you know, your tags, or your wreckers, or your, not your primes, but also if you go heavy remotes, because there's a couple of good remote options in here that we can talk about in a sec. The doctor's obviously a really good option too, and only 24 points with an adhesive launcher. I think that's actually maybe one of the better options there. Then that's got mimetism too, and super jump train total. So the Kludgers are good, and they're good points for that. Then so the Kludger is in the mobility fire team, not in the Silver Star fire team, and then that comes with, you've got the option there for a Nimrod. So you've got to get a Kludger in there. I think that's a good Harris option, potentially, because then when you look at the Nimrod, you've only got the one FTO option, that's BS attack shock with the AP marksman rifle, which is quite good, MSV2. So this is, again, if you've got your wreckers out there and you're worried about smoke, you'd want your Nimrods fairly nearby. AP marksman rifle doesn't have amazing range, but it's good if you're doing it. I actually really love the surprise attack forward deployment, hidden deployment version. If you can hide 29 points in your list, which you could do if you potentially got your Raven Eye pretending to be something like Jamie, because that's lots of points, then I think you could sneak in, you could do a Nimrod if someone's looking at Jamie, going, oh yeah, that's 50 points or so, and actually it's a Raven Eye at 16 or something, then you got loads of points for a couple of hidden things. And I think the Nimrod would be a great option there, just to sneak up, hit something with a sub, I mean that's only the submachine gun, but you've got the shock mines for the hidden deployment, which could also help with your hidden sneakiness. That could be a Vidocq that's got the multi-sniper. Beast Hunter. So this is what I'm loving about Torchlight, there's options for shell games. Then we got the Wreckers, which we've already talked about. I love this, I love the heavy rocket launcher profile there. I really want to take that. And that's in the Wreckers fire team, so take 2 of them. Well, you know, points-wise, for a S6 tag with armor 6, BTS 9, 51 points. Like, for 100 points, just over 100 points, you've got an insanely good duo. You did definitely want to be taking the Kludger engineers then. Stormbots is another one worth talking about. Heavy rocket launcher FTO, that's a great one to be, I think, adding into that prime, because that gives you some range, some distance. It is a repeater, so if you're leaning into your combi rifle list, then that's going to be excellent, and it's got the EM mines. I do like those Stormbots, actually, but again, structure, so you want to be thinking about taking your engineers. Then you got your Cyclops, which were classics in Starmada, and they were classics in, yeah, basically Starmada. I always ran that with Hector. Good options here, again, MSV1 with the multi-marksman rifle, Nanobolter, the biometric visor is great, killer hacking device is a good option, specialist operative, so great for running up in any form of list. And then, so that I end this video before an hour is up, last one, Vidocq, we've talked about them, but I think that one as a wild card in your anything is going to be excellent. You could actually do it in the mobility fire team with the Nimrod and the Kludger to make that a Harris that's a little bit different, especially if you're going to take potentially the Doctor, because both the Nimrod and the Kludger are wounds, and so that might be nice to have the Doctor there, and you've got the NCO so that you can pull in the Lieutenant Order into that to, you know, give that Harris a bit more mobility and a bit more usability, which you might want if you're taking, you know, if you are using the Nimrod with the MSV2 and the AP marksman rifle as a shooter, or if you're using the Kludger as a specialist operative for certain missions. That's my really high level look at Torchlight. If you don't like how much I fanboy about Corpus Belli, then this probably wasn't the video for you, and well done if you've even made it remotely close to this far. But there's so many profiles here, and there's so many options for synergies, there's so many options for being able to sneak attack and do things really differently to how O12 has ever played before. And there's also still the great shooting options here. There's going to be potentially some speed to it too, which is something that I'm excited for. But mostly I just like the idea that there's shooting, there's camo, there's hidden deployment, there's hacking, there's big beefy things that can do some shooting, and there's some specialist operatives, and there's some really good like area denial stuff. A lot of things that I felt that O12 were missing. What do you think about Torchlight? Do you think it's maybe overpowered in some areas? Do you think there's still some core things it's missing? Now, no factional sectorial can have everything. It's got to have weaknesses and it's got to have strength. Do you think that this is going to pull you back into O12 if you're a former O12 player? Do you think this is the resurgence that O12 needed? I'm really super happy to hear your comments, and I want to hear what you think. So please pop them below. I really do appreciate it. And if you have liked this video and if you want to see more like, you can hit that thanks button to buy me a coffee or something like that. I do appreciate it. Keep me in some PLA for terrain. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be back soon with more.